Hello, everyone. We're very pleased to welcome all of you here today to attend our side event co-organized by Institute for Reporters' Freedom and Safety and Future Russia, Switzerland, on freedom of speech under threat. So we're going to talk about the situation on exiled journalists from post-Soviet states. And here today we have a panel composed of international speakers representing Russia, Marina Ovsyannikova, Ekaterina Glickman, representing Belarus, Alona Prihodko, and representing Azerbaijan, Emin Husseinov. So we have a great pleasure to welcome our first speaker, Ekaterina Glickman. Ekaterina is a journalist, co-founder and the first editor-in-chief of Novaya Gazeta Europe, a prominent Russian media in exile. It opened shortly after the full-scale Russian invasion in Ukraine, following forced closure of the original Novaya Gazeta. Ekaterina, can you please tell us how did we get to a point when all Russian independent media have fled Russia? The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. I start with a little bit personal information. I became a journalist exactly the same time Putin became president. So I witnessed all his time in power. So 1 year after, my first newspaper was closed by him. 3 years after, my first boss in Novaya Gazeta was killed by him. I dare to say that. What I want to say that it started long time ago, from the very beginning, not on 2022, as you may probably know, but still I want to repeat it and underline. Editor-in-chief of my newspaper, Dmitry Muratov, got Nobel Peace Prize in 2021. And the price for that was quite high. He buried 6 journalists of our newspaper. And they were all murdered within Putin's time. That's also important. So we try to stay in Russia as long as possible, because, you know, for a real journalist, it's a nightmare to work from distance. So you need to be on the field to report. But in 2022, when censorship law was introduced, the work in the country was not possible anymore. So we fled the country and we launched immediately Media in Exile. And since then we work. It's a very symbolic coincidence that on the very first day when we just started our job, our work in exile, Dmitry Muratov was attacked in Russia. So for us it's like symbolic. We work more than 3 years right now, and I think we achieved a lot. The main thing for me is personally is that our loyal readership that followed us from the very beginning is still with us. It's very hard actually to not to grow your readership, the dream of every media, but just to keep it the same as it was in the beginning, because, you know, to read us is a very hard job. To be loyal for readers to us and to truthful information is a very hard job. First of all, because almost all our platforms are, of course, blocked, and you need to find VPN and do some stuff. So you need to do some job to reach out the independent information. And secondly, we cover like up to 80–90% war and repressions in our country. So it's a very hard content, and it's I appreciate our people who read us, that they stay with us so long. It's hard. Many people got tired, but we really have very loyal readers and important people. Maybe not big in number, but big enough to be in the center of any change in the future, I'm sure, of course. So we are a criminal organization. We labeled as a undesirable organization, whatever it means for them, and probably not means for you much, but it means that any collaboration, any contact with us is illegal. We are illegal as journalists. So of course it makes our job even more harder, being working in distance. Plus we cannot put in danger people. We must always think about security of our sources, of our secret journalists working from undercover from Russia, using pseudonyms. We kept our name Novaya Gazeta. We call our media Novaya Gazeta Europe because we just couldn't give away this heritage. But our journalists who still live in Russia and work for us and make reports from the field, they lost their names. And it's only thing we have as a journalist, as a media, we have only a name. So, but still there are many people willing to report, risking their at least freedom. And I consider it as a form of resistance from people, that they become our source. It's a part of resistance. They report for us, or they read us. It's also, for me, it's a part of resistance in the situation when almost nothing else possible. So at least to get yourself informed is already a big thing to do. Recently, you know, my team is now like 70 people, and it's a very, very young team because, of course, to flee country like in 3 days to make decision easier for young people than for those who have kids or parents, old parents. So yeah, average age is 25. Very young team, and just months ago we were struggling creating our mission, and it was a lot of heated discussion. And I was actually very happy that after more than 3 years of such difficult work, people, of course, have burnout, but they don't quit, and they were participating in creating our mission. And so I can quote what we decided. We voted. There were some variations. So we decided that our mission right now is writing for those who seek the truth, uniting those who won't give up, giving hope to those who have to keep silent. Sounds a lot, but we mean it. Also, I would like to say what bothering me at the moment, today, something new. I think that right now Russia is completing the construction of a digital gulag. We talked about, like, within all these years, even before war, but it was maybe not so successful for the authorities, all their attempts. But right now, I think they are very much close to the completing of this task. Few days ago, Putin called for strangling of foreign digital platforms that are still popular within Russia. Even though they are blocked, but people still use them, such as WhatsApp or any products of extremist organization Meta, or Wikipedia, or YouTube, or Telegram, or especially Instagram. I don't know why they don't like Instagram so much, but it's like one of the most unliked. So he publicly called for, like, that it must be over soon, and then new national messenger was introduced. It called Max. They actually tried many times already to create like Russian messenger, but they were not successful because people still can access others. And now they found the solution. I think they copy Chinese experience. So they will connect all state and even municipal services to this messenger. So if you live physically in Russia, you cannot avoid using this messenger. It will be able to replace your ID, your passport with this messenger. You can buy tickets, you can, I don't know, buy alcohol in the shop using this messenger. You can go book doctor appointment through this. You cannot survive without it. And it's developed by well-known VK, Vkontakte company. So it will be absolutely visible through for Russian intelligence services. So the task, the purpose is to control absolutely all information circulating within Russia. Not only media, as we already blocked a lot, but also any private conversations. And then they will use repressive mechanism to shut down everyone and control everyone. So it will be like digital surveillance non-stop. Of course, they were inspired by Chinese WeChat, as you know maybe about it. And Russia may be the only country on post-Soviet area that have means to do that, to develop this. It's well digitalized, have a lot of companies to produce such products. So I'm afraid they will be successful. The point, my last point is that it's not internal problem of Russia. That while democracy is thinking what to do about it, autocracies learn from it and copy it. And we see it already happening in Georgia, not with digital stuff, but they created the same law about foreign agents, and it's enforced now. And in Bulgaria, it's already Europe. Attention, in Bulgaria they tried it, failed, but maybe they will try again, but then who is next? So my opinion, politicians all over the world learning very well from it, and it will spread like a virus. And it's not really our domestic problem. So I just want to make warning. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Ekaterina, for your testimony. So we'll go on, and our next speaker, Alena Prihodka, an exiled Belarusian journalist, a member of Belarusian Association of Journalists and the Press Club Belarus. She also plays a significant role in Belarusian opposition and exile. For example, she organized the Coordination Council, an alternative Belarusian parliament in exile. Alena, can you please shed light on Belarusian situation now and how the diaspora is organized?
Yeah, thank you, Oleg. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Today,
microphone, please. Yeah, press.
Here. Today, I would like to share insight from my own experience and broader data on how journalism in Belarus has been repressed, not supported, and over decades. In Belarus, freedom of speech has been systematically undermined since President Alexander Lukashenko came to power in 1994. While the repression of journalists reached an unprecedented scale after the protest of 2020, to pressure on the media had been growing long before that. Short historical context, since the 1994, Belarusian government has tightened its control over the media. Independent outlets have faced censorship, shutdowns, and administrative harassment. I think maybe you know the name of Belarusian journalists like Irina Halip and Natalia Radina. They are targeted since the late 19th, detained multiple times, fined, arrested, and then later forced to leave their country. Also, journalist Pavel Sheremet, he was a journalist investigator, one of the first of this kind of industry. He was stripped of his accreditation in 1997. Together with cameraman Dmitry Zavadsky, they were arrested and released from prison at the personal request of President Yeltsin. But in 2000, Dmitry Zavadsky was kidnapped in Belarus, and this crime has not yet been solved. There are many reasons to believe that he was killed on Lukashenko's order. In 2016, Pavel Sheremet was also killed. He was blown up in a car in Kiev. Andrzej Poczobut, my colleague, Polish-Belarusian journalist, arrested and fined in 2011 and 12, and re-arrested in 2021. On February 23, Andrzej Poczobut was sentenced to 8 years in a maximum security prison colony. The trial was held behind closed doors, like it's usually in Belarus now. According to the Belarusian Association of Journalists, between 2017 and 2019, there were 1,079 documented cases of physical, legal, or administrative pressure on journalists, including detentions, equipment confiscation, warnings, and defiance. In the first 11 months, 2020, alone, Belarusian Association of Journalists recorded over 500 cases of persecution against journalists, including arrests, fines, detention, and the physical assaults. According to multiple credible sources, between 400 or 600 Belarusian journalists and media workers were forced into exile after the 2020 crackdown. In addition, the Committee of Protect Journalists notes more than 60 exiled journalists are currently facing criminal cases, highlighting a growing trend of transnational repression even after they left Belarus. Journalists have been arrested while working, as was the case with Ekaterina Andreeva-Bakhvalova and her camera woman Daria Chultsova. Daria was released after 2 years in prison. Katerina Bakhvalova was sentenced to 8 years. She and her husband, journalist Igor Ilyash, are behind the bars. In a moment, 39 Belarusian journalists behind the bars. We have a limited time here. I cannot pronounce all of their cases and their names. But believe me, all of these cases, it's because the journalists just did their job, did it correctly and honestly. Hundreds of journalists, including me, are facing prison term in my homeland. Personally, I am wanted by the Investigative Committee of Belarus on a criminal charge for participation in an extremist groups. So that you understand, the extremist groups in which I participate is Belarusian Association of Journalists, Belarusian Press Club, and editorial offices of investigative media and Coordination Council of Belarus. These facts of persecution show how just important our profession is, how dangerous and inconvenient journalism become from dictatorial and autocratic regime, where freedom of speech exists only for propaganda and the criminals. Today, Belarusian media in exile are the only free voice of the Belarusian people and a living example of independent and honest journalism. Thanks to the work of investigative Belarusian journalist projects like Investigative Center, the Bureau, Belarusian Investigators Alliance, and the Belpol, we have documented and made public the regime corruption, military crimes, and the political repression. Based on their investigation, sanctions were imposed. Individuals and companies were blacklisted. Sanction evasion shames were shut down, and business collaborating with the regime were exposed and closed. We are inconvenient for criminals because we tell the truth about their crimes. They call us extremists, terrorists, enemies of the state, but Belarusian journalists are not criminals. Journalists are the only chance people have to receive reliable and timely information. The only chance for the people have to receive reliable information and only chance to, under dictatorship, to have a voice. The only way to upload civic oversight and accountability. In a moment, at least 42 active independent Belarusian media currently operate from exile. That's why anywhere we call colleagues, professional communities, politicians, foundations, private citizens to support independent journalists in exile. We are lost our homes. We lost our civil rights and our freedom, but we still have been, and we still have our profession and our mission to serve the Belarusian people. Thank you for your attention. Long live on Belarus. Живе Belarus.
Thank you very much, Alona. So now we go on, and we're very happy to welcome our next speaker, Marina Ovsyannikova. Many of us remember Marina's anti-war protest. It was broadcasted live on the main Russian news channel on March 14, 2022. That incredibly courageous action took Kremlin completely off guard. It also had a huge cost for Marina. She was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison and got deprived of her parental rights. Let's hear the story about how Russian propaganda evolved, eventually resembling Nazi-style propaganda from someone who once worked in the field but ultimately chose the side of truth and integrity. Marina, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Oleg, and thank you so much, dear colleagues, for opportunity to speak today. I really just come here not as only as a journalist, but someone who lived and worked inside a Russian propaganda machine for many, many years, and I know how it's working inside. I want to tell you what has happened in Russia in recent years and what's happening now. For 25 years, Putin completely destroyed all independent Russian media. It starts with television. In 2003, the government took under control the first independent TV channel, NTV. Later, other channels like REN TV were also silent. When the Kremlin, slowly took over major newspaper and websites by changing their owners behind the scenes. By the time the war with Ukraine began, almost all media in Russia were under full Kremlin control. I worked at Channel 1. It's the biggest Russian TV channel. At first, we were asked to show more and more Putin's activities. Then there were forbidden topics and forbidden person. After 2010, we started to receive the special instructions from a presidential administration telling us exactly what we have to say about important topics, like the war with Ukraine, like American politics and protests, and etc. These instructions were called in Russian metodichki. Everything that made Putin look bad was forbidden. The goal was to make him look stronger and to hide the real problems in the country. When the war with Ukraine began, it was a point of no return for me. It was impossible to keep silent any longer, and I started protesting against war, against propaganda, and against Putin regime. For that, I was sentenced half of years in prison and deprived of my parental rights. To save myself, I had to escape from house arrest, illegally cross the border at night with my daughter, and seek political asylum in France. People often ask me what's happened inside this Putin's propaganda machine. On one side, there are the main Putin's propagandists, such as Solovyov, Simonyan, and Skabeva, who spread hatred, calling for violence against Ukrainians. I believe they should be held responsible for helping to start and support this war. A year ago, the International Federation for Human Rights, which is based in Paris, prepared and sent case materials to International Criminal Court. I was participating in this work, and we managed to attract international attention to this issue. But the International Court for main Russian propagandists is still so far away. And while the international community is unable to bring propagandists to criminal responsibility, we have to another method of influential on them. It's sanctions. They need to be banned from entering to Western countries. Latvia recently banned Putin's favorite news presenter Ekaterina Andreeva from entering the country to the request of Navalny Anti-Corruption Foundation. Canada did the same before that. Other countries should do the same. But it's one side of the problem. But another side, I want to talk about ordinary people who are working inside this propaganda machine. I'm talking about ordinary editors, cameramen, journalists, and many of them, maybe 70 or 75%, were against the war when it started. But they are scared. They have families to protect. They have parents, children, and they just follow the rules to stay safe. They believe in freedom and democracy. I can tell you, all my ex-colleagues believe in freedom and democracy. And before the war started, they travel a lot in the United States, in European countries, and now they're blocked inside Russia. But they try to save themselves, their families, and they know it's really dangerous to speak out in Russia. It's also important to understand people in Russia now live inside huge information bubble. All independent media are blocked. Social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are banned. After 3 years in this information bubble, people minds begin to change. Some who once opposed the war now support it. This looks like a kind of Stockholm syndrome, where victims started to believe in their captors. That's why independent media is so important, and people in Russia need to hear the truth. We can't not leave them alone with only Putin's propaganda. According to international organization Reporters Without Borders, Russia ranks 171st out of 180 countries in press freedom. 38 journalists are in prison now, half of them Russians, half of them Ukrainians. More than 200 journalists in Russia have been recognized as foreign agents. More than 10 media outlets were recognized as undesirable organizations. thousands of websites with independent information have been blocked, and hundreds of Russian journalists are now living in exile. But even with all these political repressions, True is still alive, and I'm very grateful my colleagues from Novaya Gazeta, from another Russian media, independent media like Meduza, TV channel Dozhd, etc. And they continue the important work in such difficult condition. And my message to you is simple: please don't look away, support independent Russian journalists, journalism, defend the truth, and impose sanctions against the main Russian propagandists. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Marina, for your story. Now it's our great pleasure to welcome our last speaker of this session, our colleague and friend, Emin Huseynov. Emin is a prominent Azerbaijani journalist and human rights defender. He founded the Institute of Reporters' Freedom and Safety, through which he constantly exposed violations and restrictions of freedom of expression and press in Azerbaijan. For his work, he was targeted by Azerbaijani government. Fortunately, Emin escaped the country. His escape is more of a story for a Hollywood movie. He found refuge at the Swiss embassy in Baku, where he spent 10 months and eventually was evacuated by the Swiss foreign minister. Here in Switzerland, Emin continues advocating for human rights and freedom of speech at the international platforms such as the UN. Without further words, Emin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Oleg. Thank you, dear colleagues. In the beginning of my statement, I would like to say many issues like technical blocking, political pressure, what my colleagues explained in relations with their own countries in Belarus and Azerbaijan, absolutely applicable for current situation in Azerbaijan, with maybe some difference. For example, if in Russia we have this foreign agent law and you have to declare yourself as like foreign agent or extremist, in Azerbaijan, Azerbaijani government do a bit clever decisions. They not name toxically this repressive law. They say for just like we are doing progressive law to improve public participation. But with this law, which is same, let's say, repressive meaning, which is have Russia or Georgian or Belarusian law or other authoritarian state, government of Azerbaijan able successfully destroyed civil society, started destroy them since 2013. My colleague from Belarus mentioned they are staying with Lukashenko decades, and the situation in Azerbaijan is similar. Since from 1993, same family, like Aliyev family, staying in power. And today, we have already 32 years existence of this current ruling regime. They're staying like in power, let's say 99% of time of our independence, since we existed as like independent state since Soviet Union collapsed. And today, during the Aliyev presidential terms, his presidential terms, we have same numbers of political prisoners as like maybe comparable with the situation, dramatic situation in Belarus or Russia. We have 400 political prisoners, 40 journalists, 9 women journalists, 10 human rights defenders, lots of civil society activists. But I would like to mention like issues with the media freedom situation. Right now, since Azerbaijan, compared with Russia and Belarus, Azerbaijan still member of the Council of Europe. Aliyev, same authoritarian ruler and dictator as like Putin and Lukashenko, but is using successfully European institutions as like a Council of Europe or European political community for whitewashing himself. And even the European political community decided to host it, provide the host status for the Azerbaijan in 2008. Imagine, like European political community decide to meet in 2007 in Belarus or in 2006 in Russia? What do you feel? I'm asking, like, for example, like-minded states, or especially European European political communities, member states, like 26 member states of EU and other members of the Council of Europe. Many of you say that this is impossible, but we need to look what is this. It's like violations of the even like not internal Azerbaijani democratic situation. It's violation against all general European values when European Union decide to do this kind of events in Azerbaijan, and they deny to even publicly push Azerbaijan to release all of these imprisoned colleagues. I'm mentioning like 40 journalists now in prison, hundreds, up to 200 journalists under house arrest in Azerbaijan, dozens of independent media which has tried to survive for the last 10 years in Azerbaijan decide to stop their activities, and most of my colleagues decide to leave to exile. I'm in exile 10 years, and I'm living in the beautiful country, Switzerland, but even here in Switzerland or in Germany or in France, in the great democratic European countries, sometimes journalists not feel themselves free and safe. We have murder attacks of Azerbaijani blogger in France, attempts of the coup to blogger like Mahamat Mirzali. France French government provided him 24/7 state protections, but Azerbaijani authorities not managed to kill him. They managed to kill another blogger, Vidadi Iskandarli, in October 2024 in Mulhouse. Several attacks happened here in Switzerland, in Germany, in France. Journalists received like threats, no matter you are journalists from Azerbaijan or from Belarus or Russia. All of our colleagues receiving threats. But biggest challenge compared with all of these threats and challenges which is we have, the issues which is sometimes we feel ourselves alone in exile. Imagine today when our journalist colleagues not able to continue to work in our countries, we have to establish our institution in exile. And this is most difficult and painful part, because when you are starting to work from Europe, you have to establish new legal entities, you have to establish new kind of relations with the donors, because you are still non-profit institution, and using domestic charity opportunities in countries like Azerbaijan, Russia, or Belarus, currently impossible, because anyone who is able to donate us even €5, €1, able to punish. Look what's happening in Russia. People who donated to FBK or to other institutions, just like, or some humanitarian project in Ukraine, they're punished like this court repressive machine in Russia, putting people to prison for the years. And same situation in Azerbaijan, huge level of paranoia, people afraid to contribute to independent media. And this give us new questions. Who's supposed to save? Do you think like saving democracy and rule of law or human rights in Azerbaijan or other countries, it's business only of Azerbaijani citizens? My question is like Azerbaijani citizen, even Aliyev deprived my citizenship illegally for my position, and I win this court case in European Court for Human Rights, and he denied to return my citizenship. I'm still feel myself as like citizen, even I'm a refugee, political refugee in Switzerland. I'm asking how I am able to continue to work, for example, in Switzerland, how Russian journalists or Belarusian journalists are supposed to continue to work. Yes, some of you are able to say for EU or establish some kind of media hubs for Russian, Belarusian journalists. They provide several millions, let's say €3 million to save like Russians media in exile. Do you know how many Russians media in exile right now? It's up to 200. Do you know how many Belarusian media in exile today? More than 80 Belarusian media in exile. 100,000 journalists left countries, and they're looking for job opportunities. And when you're staying in exile, like in France, no matter how you or in Switzerland, or in Germany, no matter how you're famous in your own country, you have to decide to choose what you need to do. You still need to fight with this Kremlin propaganda, Aliyev's propaganda, or Lukashenko's propaganda, or any others like propaganda, or start completely new life and feel yourself as like Swiss or German, or and say, let me forget about my own country. The question is, who is staying in the front line to fight for freedom, fundamental freedom? Is this journalists in exile? Today, even more donors accepted this. You know, many civil society institutions who are supposed to also live in exile have much more difficulties compared with exile-based journalists, and lots of donors decide to do not continue to support civil society institutions, like literally humanitarian or sometimes human rights initiatives in Azerbaijan or in Russia or in Turkmenistan or Uzbekistan. They say, for why we need to support this, because it's useless to invest donors' funds for this kind of activities. They find solution of one of the effective tools to fight with these authoritarian rulers, invest for independent public interest medias. And all of these public interest medias based in exile. It's just like a literally economic issues, like, because some donors still until today think for this with funds which is there support public interest medias in Azerbaijan, in Belarus and other authoritarian countries. It's possible to support with the same small amount of funds sustainable public interest media and public interest journalists in exile. This is impossible. You need to alarm this situation and find solutions for us. It's not big issues. Look how much money you spend for the war in different parts of the world. Like, if like-minded states able to support enough civil society institutions in beginning when these dictators not super powerful, maybe we never have the situation when Putin start war against Ukraine. Maybe we never have situation when Aliyev feel himself like absolutely like impune. Because Europe compromised with available like a cheap oil and gas, Russian gas resources, Azerbaijani oil and gas resources. They find the eyes when civil society or independent media alarming 20 years ago. Don't give this, if you provide to Putin or Aliyev billions, dozens of billions for oil and gas export, you should invest to civil society institutions. What are they doing today in Azerbaijan? Azerbaijan export to Europe, oil and gas export, is like up to 25 billion euros per year. And I'm asking the EU, how much you invested back to the civil society of Azerbaijan or independent media? Not more than 1 or 2 million at all. And all of this money going to the big institutions, which is sometimes don't have even connections with the Azerbaijan grassroots organizations. And now we find solutions for it. EU and like-minded states, especially when we have issues with dramatic situation, when USA forget about their commitments to support democrats around the world, EU have to take responsibilities and invest smarter and more effective to exile-based media institutions, journalists, especially journalists who want to live, let's say, countries like Azerbaijan or Russia or Belarus. But sometimes journalists saying, okay, what I should do, I can, as like Marina said, journalists have to, person who spent like 25 years in his life to write articles, when they are supposed to choose, he want to continue to do good journalism for good. But when nobody paid him for his job, what this person supposed? He's supposed to compromise with authoritarian propaganda machine, or decide to live in exile and work as like a workers or bus driver or Uber driver or pizza delivery. Like lots of stories like this, shocking me especially, because when we lose all of these human resources, we lose our battle for our future, better future. In the end, again, I would like to say, try to save the life of individuals and small medias. Today, for example, EU bravely mentioning we are delivered accepted plan for safe radio liberty. Radio liberty is American huge media Cold War giant. You can't save like a media with 100 million annual budget, which is based in Czech Republic. With this 100 million, they decided to just simply donate 5.5 million. Say, okay, this is our first plan to support radio liberty. But if you ask like how much they support, they provide on the same time for Russian and Belarusian journalists, they've decided, okay, for 2 years we delivered like up to 3 million. Imagine comparing it. With these several millions, it is possible to save good quality journalism, provide like independent bloggers. Even still today, Putin able to block like YouTube in Russia. When we analyze situation, we see for people to try to use the VPN, they try to find some alternative information. Same situation in Azerbaijan. Aliyev tried to block like TikTok, but people start to use VPN. Our biggest concern and issues, how we can survive in the future, and that's why we need to find joint response on it. I thank you to all of you, and sorry for course.
Thanks a lot, Emin, and thanks to all the speakers. Now we have some time to take a few questions from the audience, and you can always discuss privately in the corridors after the side event with the speakers you wish to talk to. Do you have questions from the audience? I can start asking about new media that are appearing a lot in the West now. And in reality, they claim that they're independent, but in reality, they are oftentimes associated with some authoritarian states. So what do you think about this issue? Are there ways for non-professional audience to distinguish these media as affiliated with the states? This is the question basically to any of you who wish to answer. It's more of a general, so I don't have like a concrete example, but I see like on the background that this is a recurring issue. It seems not to be a concern for the for the.
Maybe you can give like more concretely.
No, but I mean that there's very small media that's appearing like mushrooms under the rain, so and that they try to attend many platforms and forums that get accreditations also as independent most often, but then in reality they share a narrative that is often colored as.
I can respond.
Yeah.
I think it's not a big problem. It's always happened, like especially in exile communities, some strange people coming to exile, some people which have like a double agenda. They try to disorganize exile-based communities. They are attending to events, but it's freedom of the speech. For us, I'm always saying we don't care, even when we organize any kind of public event. Anyone, even like Azerbaijani embassy, able to bring camera here and record it, everything. I'm telling to everyone, feel free to record everything what you want. They are not change makers. Like they are sometimes they able to just waste the time during some events. But for me, I think we have a much more bigger problems, and we don't need to choose who is like in exile, like a good journalist, who is serious journalist, who is not. And some people like we have lots of new generation exile journalists, people who work in Azerbaijan, let's say in construction. He's escaped because he finds some problem. He's make like some kind of activities which is correlated with whistleblowing. But his escape, let's say, even I know some police officers who work in the police, and he escaped now is open the blog in exile and expose police crimes, how they torture people, how they do fabricated politically motivated cases against government opponents, etc. Like it's let's say this one of the side effects of the media diversity. You don't need to expect lots of professionals. And again, if it's any other questions, maybe Masha, Maria.
Thank you so much to all the speakers. And I'm Russian, and I would like to express my utmost admiration for the work you do in Belarus, in Azerbaijan, and of course in Russia. And my question is to all of you as a blitz kind of answer. If it was one thing that you would like the international community, national states, all the allies of the freedom of speech to do more of, very concrete examples that helps journalism to promote the truth. If you could each of you say, like, I want you to do more of this thing.
I can start.
I'm sorry, I didn't see. Maybe we take a question also from the Ukrainian delegation. So I didn't see the rise. And if there's some other questions, we'll take all the questions together.
Thanks for giving me the floor, and thanks for organizing this event. For Ukraine, the topic of independent and free media is highly important, particularly in the context of Russia's war against Ukraine. And here, let me emphasize, please, that it's war against Ukraine, not with Ukraine. Since 2014, Russia has systematically used propaganda and disinformation to justify and support its aggression against my country, culminating in the brutal and full-scale military invasion that countries face today. The aggressor state implements policies of de-Ukrainization, forced assimilation, and demographic substitution in the temporary occupied territories of Ukraine, aiming to erase our identity. In this context, I would like to ask you, as representatives of civil society, how do you see your role in ensuring accountability for those who use propaganda and violence to silence the truth? I thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I understand the question of my Ukrainian colleagues, how we try to fight this Putin's propaganda, and I just want to tell you, when I went to exile, my goal was how we can resist the Putin's propaganda. Here, because I live in France, and I had so many different conversations with different top officials, try to explain them how important to fighting against Putin's propaganda. And I want to tell you the main goal, what we achieved now, together with Reporters Sans Frontières, Reporters Without Borders, we open special satellite. The name of this satellite is Freedom, and now it's broadcast different independent TV channel to in Russia, and probably 5 million Russians can watch independent information with this satellite. Also, we here in Europe, we try to block, with Reporters Sans Frontières, try to block different Putin's propaganda resource, like Russia Today, you know, maybe during 3 years, site of Russia Today in France, still working, and finally we find solution how to block it forever in France, and I think it's very important for us. Thank you.
From my side, thank you. From my side, I can share my own example and my colleagues. I'm working like a journalist investigator. And the last 3 years, all of our investigators community did it. It was one great big and practice fighting against the propaganda also, because we investigate the wars criminals, corruption criminals, regime Lukashenko and the Putin, and we proved them. So all of these criminals, it's not just by the words, it's real proof. Then you can use after them when this regime, I believe, they would be judged anywhere. So till now, they used it just to make these sanction tracks, but not enough. We believe that they would be judged. And also the other point, just what we have to do, like say, we just have to save ourselves now in exile, because we need to survive like a human beings. And on the another side, we try to keep our profession and kept ourselves like a journalist. So we are fighting also for our surviving here. Because for me, for example, I'm a twice refugee. And it's not easy to be on the position like this.
Thanks. We need to have like really small remark from our last remark.
Okay, I can manage. As for responsibility of propaganda people, my personal opinion, they are criminals, but I actually wish to see them in the court. I wish justice for them, not just my opinion, whatever I feel or think. So I think they must end up in the court. And about international community, this question. We are aware what we deliver as a journalist in exile is valuable not for our country, but also for the whole world, because we still have a lot of sources, and we still have people working undercover anonymously. So we know what's going on there. And I think the best international community can do, especially journalists, just using Creative Commons and republishing our articles to inform people in Europe and the whole other world what's going on in, for example, in my country, in Russia, because it affects everyone. And to make decisions based on information, you need to provide information. We are open for free. Use our articles, please.
Thank you very much. So we need to wrap up, and thanks to the secretary to allow to hold this side events, and thanks to all the speakers and to the audience. Thank you.
If you have a question, just raise the